Jessica, you just took away the most misogynistic points that Matt and I could possibly make.
You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong.
Welcome to episode 192 of the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is my podcast partner in crime, writer, journalist, dog mom, Jessica Szilagyi.
Hi.
And my other podcast partner in crime,
what?
Matthew Lowe.
You called him that too?
Yes,
I do.
He does.
Okay, that is sick.
It's usually like, it's something like, public landowner, husband, father, hunter extraordinaire. Last night it was idiot, but whatever.
And podcast partner in crime?
He does say that from time to time.
I do say that from time to time, and of course I give Eric credit also.
Offended.
Well, the band is back together.
Yeah, apparently, because we share the same names.
You're hard to confuse between the two of you. I've actually met Matt.
Right?
Long-time listeners will get that one.
Right?
So, Jess, you're mad at me.
I am. For twice now.
Yeah, so Micah Gravely announced that he will not be seeking re-election.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that to you a couple nights ago before recording.
No, you called and said you had like breaking news.
I was not that severe about it, but yeah, it was breaking news. He actually announced that he wasn't running, and I've known this for 6 months.
Yeah, so it's not breaking news.
I've known too.
Well, I haven't known because he blocked me.
Well, it wasn't on his page or anything, but yeah, it was one of those things where you don't tell a reporter when someone says, "Hey, don't say anything."
Right.
Actually, people do that all the time, actually.
I'm sure they do, but he said, "Don't say anything." The first thing I'm going to do is run to the reporter in my circle of friends. Hey, guess what? Don't say anything. Well, then why tell me? I'm a reporter.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Jessica was miffed at me last week for the fact that I've known for 6 months that the Micah Gravely. And look, I like Micah.
I don't.
I know. He's a friend of mine, and I told him before I left the event the other night. I said, "Man, you're my friend in office and out of office. You need anything, let me know."
Mm-hmm.
But Jessica is miffed at me. Wow, that makes 2 women in my life that don't like me.
Yeah, but only one of your podcast partners in crime.
So that's what hurts your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So we have state legislators in 3 conservative western Maryland counties. They're seeking permission to secede from the state to join neighboring West Virginia. West Virginia State House Speaker Roger Hanshaw. Well, I was waiting for one of you guys to jump in. I'll just keep reading. Did you guys plan this before the show?
Yeah, we're going to make you do it all.
Right?
You're gonna read it off. Y'all are gonna opine on it, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
I don't
there's
know
so
why
many
anybody
reasons.
would want to join West Virginia.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. Like, if you're going to join a different state, but why West Virginia?
One time
Probably because it's close.
Well, thank you, Matthew.
I didn't think they were going to ask to join California.
Matt's just like, I come back for a show and I get double people insulting me.
I mean, that's about as bad as asking where the name, what Mark is short for.
Matt hasn't listened to last episode.
I have not.
Shocking.
It's on my list. I listen every week, but
just not.
No, I'm curious. I'm curious what the reason is. Like, is it some crazy thing? You know, like if some of the southern counties that bordered Tennessee, or southern Tennessee counties that bordered North Georgia were to want to do that, like I could totally see, because we have this big water war thing happening with Tennessee. It's been going on forever, and they argue about where the actual line is from surveys from 150 years ago about it. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if it's something like that.
So it has, apparently they're in the same congressional district, like those counties right now. But I guess it's like, it's David Trone, who's a Democrat, and they went in with the 2010 redistricting cycle, and they gerrymandered out a Republican, and they want to go, I guess, across state lines to be with some other conservatives. Because Biden won that district like 65%, but in their county it was like
theory.
20%.
Yeah, it's an interesting theory. I don't think you're going to be able to secede from your state. You know, I've heard for years from conservatives that Georgia should be split up to Atlanta.
What?
Yeah. Atlanta should be its own state, and then everybody else.
No. Absolutely not. First of all, that would make the number of flags stars on the flag uneven, and that would be an OCD nightmare. Where do you put that 51st star?
Good Lord, Jessica.
Just shrink the rest of them up. It's fine.
Second, that means that South Georgia either has to go with Alabama, Florida, or South Carolina. And I'm not doing that.
What are you saying about Florida?
So, hold on. Like,
everything.
We did a story a couple years ago when about California, when they were talking about turning into 3 states. Were you okay with that?
No.
I don't remember. But I don't remember the stars on the flag being your reason for it either.
Well, it's just one of the many reasons. California shouldn't. I mean, I'm from California. My biggest concern is that they're going to get rid of it from the United States, and then I'm going to be a foreigner.
Are you not already?
You're a Georgia resident now.
Yeah. My birth certificate says San Fran. But no, this, they're mad because they've been gerrymandered and they've been living with it for, I guess, 11 years. And while Biden won the congressional district by like 65% in these counties that want to secede, they are like 20 and 30% Biden. And so they want to go with West Virginia. But it's only been done 3 times in history, ever.
Well, look.
Do we know what other 3 times?
Yes, I do. 1792, when Kentucky was carved out of what was then Virginia. 1820, when some of Maine came off of Massachusetts. And 1863, when Virginia and West Virginia.
Well, there's
so
also
it wasn't any time recent.
I mean, it depends on who you ask. Because Abraham Lincoln, it was recent, but
well, you can't ask him because he's dead.
Yeah, you can ask him.
His legacy lives on.
Well, you know why Michigan has a UP, has the Upper Peninsula, is the port of Toledo was given to Ohio because Ohio was going to become a state first. So when Toledo went to Ohio, which is the best trade in American history, to get rid of damn Toledo, Michigan got the Upper Peninsula, which is why Michigan looks the way it does and is disconjointed, that they took off a piece of, I think, Wisconsin to make the Upper Peninsula. That was their consolation for losing the port of Toledo. It doesn't qualify in your 3 examples because they weren't states at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I know way too much weird stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with that, but
I'm okay with it.
You're okay with them doing what they want to do?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not like it's a lengthy process, which would include going through the state legislature in Maryland, and then Maryland and West Virginia have to sign an agreement, and then Congress has to approve it.
Which will never happen.
Well, I think that's part of why I'm okay with it. Not because it would never happen, but because it would be neat to see that process.
Oh, well, yeah, there's a lot of things that would be neat. Doesn't mean I want to be a witness to them.
No, but look, if they're tied up doing that, there's other things they're not going to be doing. Reaching into my wallet and
or regulating the strippers, like we're going to talk about later.
Right.
And first of all, they can do two things at the same time. They can look into this and pick your pocket. They've learned that just fine.
Yeah.
So, without any oral arguments, briefings on the merits or written dissents, U.S. Supreme Court on Monday overturned two lower court decisions that denied qualified immunity for police officers accused of deploying excessive force in California and Oklahoma.
This was kind of interesting. I feel like it kind of went under the radar in the news cycle last week, which is always interesting, like what picks up momentum and what doesn't. And of course, like they took them up at the same time from the 9th and 10th Circuit because they had similar subject matter. But basically, in one of the instances, officers used beanbag rounds to subdue somebody who had a knife, and then they used a knee on the suspect's back, I guess. And the court ruled that the beanbag rounds were okay, but the knee was a violation of the Fourth Amendment and was a bridge too far. And then in the second case, officers shot and killed a suspect who was refusing to comply and had a hammer and kind of lunged at the officers with the hammer. But what's interesting about the case, which, I mean, we've talked about qualified immunity at length on the show, but a lot of the proponents of getting rid of qualified immunity say that, it's too, like, the courts give too much leeway to law enforcement and they don't really outline what is allowed and what is not, and it's up to each individual court and a lot of discretion. But time and time again, the court has, in my opinion, based on like the rulings, and even the circuit courts are a little bit different, but at the lower level in Supreme Courts, they have repeatedly said that, like, it's really difficult to outline what someone should do in a split second and when making a split second decision, which is what most state statutes say too, for citizens and police.
Well, yeah, if someone comes after me with a hammer, I'm shooting them.
Yeah, that's pretty much my test for any time that I hear anything about something that a cop did. I kind of look at it, with whatever the little tidbit of information that I have. Right, in this case, someone's coming with a knife, another one's coming with a hammer. I'd have put bullets in both of them. So, I'm cool.
And as a private citizen, nobody would have thought twice about it. But we have a heightened threshold for police. Like, Francis Johnson, who we've talked about a lot on the show because of what he's done in Bullitt County and in Screven County. He's the former Georgia chairman of the NAACP. He was quoted in an article last week saying that Georgia law does not allow police officers to stand their ground, and there's no provision for standing their ground. Well, that's actually not true, because it doesn't say anything about that. Stand your ground is just that you don't have a duty to retreat. And the law says that citizens and police are on the same level when it comes to defending their life or the life of somebody else. So if you adhere to that, it's really difficult, just because somebody's wearing a badge, to say that in a split second they should be held to a higher standard than another person.
I absolutely agree that, but it applies across the board about that standard. And we talked about that with the Ahmaud Arbery case about, chasing this guy down and shooting him, and they should be held to the same standard as police officers. That it was not self-defense.
No.
Yeah, if you come after me with a hammer, I'm going to put a hole in you.
Right? I've hit a dude with a hammer before. It's an effective weapon.
Yeah.
You hit a dude with a hammer before.
Yeah, when I was in high school.
You're just gonna drop that bomb and not go into the backstory on that one, Matthew?
No, so when I was in high school,
you were a bastard, first of all.
Oh yeah, I was. But my high school was geared with like a vocational slant. So we had building construction, auto mechanics, metal fabrication, things like that. And we were in building construction, and this dude, decided he wanted to fight. And what we did in building construction is we built these little backyard barns and then donated them to needy families that needed extra storage in their backyard. And I had a hammer. I had actually an East Wing hammer, very specifically. And this dude named Rolla decided that he wanted to get up a fight. And he was, 15, 20 feet away and talking smack the way everybody does when, you're 15, 16 years old. And somebody was like, oh, don't mess with Rolla. He'll F you up. And I was like, I am not worried about Rolla. And said something very colorful, which really pissed him off. And he came charging at me. And I dropped the hammer. I grabbed a hold of the head of the hammer and let the handle come between my ring finger and my bird finger. And when he got in range, I just whack, hit him right in the side of the head. He went out cold. And it was kind of funny because nothing happened as far as the school was concerned. This was, late 90s. No, mid 90s. This was mid 90s. And I got sent to the principal's office, one of the principals. And he was a Jewish man from Israel. And he was like, what happened? And I told him. And I told him who I hit. And he was like, that's the little Iranian kid, right? And I was like, yeah. He was like, go back to class. And that was it.
You had to bring Semitism into this. Like, that's not even a part of the story.
No, well, that's why I got he had the principal, who the Israeli principal had a decidedly
anti-Iranian. I hear Jessica just dying over here.
Right.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was a little cringeworthy when you went that direction with the story, but I think that there's the element too of in the 90s and the early 2000s, like kids would slug somebody and sort out a problem and then go back to class and things were fine. Like, you didn't have the problems we have now with parents intervening and bullying. Like, yeah, there was bullying, but eventually
nobody showed up with a gun 3 days later or anything like that.
No, and you also
in fact, if you went
officers
hunting that morning, your gun could stay in the truck and you could still have a fist fight without it turning into a gunfight.
Right.
We are way, as I hear Matt open up his third beer.
Well, you asked him about the hammer.
I did, but like, he can't just leave stuff like that. Like, I've hit a guy in the head with a hammer and just move on.
It's not like you're never going to talk to him again after the show. Make a note.
I hit the cough button on the mic to crack the beer, and then you ruined it.
The criticism is that the Supreme Court has long been differential to law enforcement, especially in split second decision making. Ah, man.
Well, what they did in this case was they said that like if you're going to have an identical or a split second decision, and somebody wants the Supreme Court to rule on that, then it has to be almost identical facts, and in order for you to overcome qualified immunity. So like basically like the only the precedents set before where they overturned qualified immunity would they be willing to rule that way again or consider it. If it's a different set of circumstances, they're not going to do it. And so the critics are saying that like that makes excessive force harder to, get the courts to decide on. But like we were talking about, I mean, first of all, we've seen a lot of excessive force allegations, and some people think that the only response to criminals should be like showing up with a backpack full of goodies and giving them a hug and sending them on their way.
Well, and here's the thing. I know neither one of you guys are big ball sports fans. When you look at a play, yeah, it's college football season. Well, it's also pro football season. When you look at a play in real time and then you slow it down, and it's as if these folks far removed from what happened are looking at things through instant replay and in slow motion and say, oh, this is what he should have done. But that's not how things happen in real life. It's bang, bang. It's instantaneous. Like somebody's coming after you with a hammer. Hammer is a lethal damn weapon.
Yes, it is.
I used to have a hammer that was called the Death Stick. They've now changed the name of the thing, but it was a framing hammer that was called the Death Stick. It was and this thing would put a hurting on somebody. It's a lethal weapon.
Anything can be a weapon, and you shouldn't have to decide that in a split second. You could slam somebody's head on the ground like they did in the Kingsland case, where the defendant, the driver, was slamming the officer's head on the ground, and it was on top of him in the position of power, and they're like, oh, well, he wasn't armed. Okay, well, I'm sorry, how many hits against the asphalt does it take before somebody's head cracks open? It could be a vehicle. It could be your hands are on their throat. There's lots of things. You don't have to have a gun or have a lethal weapon for it to be a threat to your life.
No, absolutely, you're right. Absolutely. I've got obviously we don't record all together. I've got a stuffed fish on my wall because, I'm a redneck. I could take that and wield it and hurt somebody. You could pick up the TV. You could pick up a laptop and beat somebody in the head with it. It becomes a lethal weapon at that point. And the expectation that a police officer, it's not even that. It's these people that are Monday morning quarterbacking it. Again, I go back to ball sports. Is, oh, I would have done this, or why didn't you go for your taser, or why didn't you go for your pepper spray? And this guy had literally half a second to decide whether or not he's going to shoot somebody who's coming after with a hammer.
I don't know if you remember last summer, I wrote a story about the Claxton Police Department because I had received a call from a couple people actually who said that there was a duplex in town that two people were kind of arguing, and there was a domestic dispute, and someone called the cops, and that a single officer showed up, got out of his car, sprinted into the duplex, and started attacking the guy, and they wrestled to the ground, and they beat the guy up. And I'm like, wow, that sounds intense. I'm going to go ahead and request the body cam. And they're like, oh, they have body cams? Like, yeah, they have multiple body cams. So I requested, I get the footage. Of course, it's nothing like what this person who said they witnessed it said it was. And I put the video up in its raw form, as we always do. And then Eric and I slowed it down in a second take, and then I pulled out like 25 screenplays from a certain 25-second period of time. And you can see when you slow it down frame by frame that the guy threw the officer onto a glass coffee table and shattered it before the officer actually slugged him. And when you put that out there for people, but people don't want to know that. saying the people who called me, of course, were like, well, you know, I'm not sure about the angle of the body cam, and it was pointed down, and they're always making excuses. The people who want to know the facts they might think that one case isn't a use of excessive force, and another one they're like, I can totally see it. But there's the agitators have no desire to slow down and look at something and be like, gosh, that happened really fast. I don't know what I would have done.
And, you know, they try to tie this into George Floyd. The House of Representatives has twice passed the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, which would eliminate qualified immunity for police, but it has failed in the Senate.
Yeah, cool. Let's name a bill on justice reform and reforms in policing. Let's name it after a felon who was high as a fucking kite when he died. Cool. That's really cool.
Where do you stand, Jessica?
Right. That was a little wishy-washy. I need you to give us a more firm opinion.
And I know you love bills and acts that are named after people.
Yeah.
Look, the George Floyd case is, well, it is not the same. Like what we saw in George Floyd, and Chauvin is in prison.
He is in prison.
The law worked.
Sure, but and nobody looks at that video and says, I mean, you can understand like how it started, and you can understand the first, few, like a couple minutes, but then everyone was like, that's too long. Like, stop, or reassess or do something. Like, lots of people. Let's not pretend that this guy was like, he robbed a pregnant woman.
He didn't just rob a pregnant woman. I mean, he threatened to, either cut or shoot her in her pregnancy belly. Yeah, this was not a good guy. I did find it funny that his mural was struck by lightning. Amused the hell out of me.
God don't like ugly.
You know what times I hear that around my house? All right. This is a good time to remind you that these are our opinions and not those of anyone not on this show or any respective company for which we may work, own, or otherwise associate ourselves with on a regular or irregular basis. Also, you can find other episodes and relevant stories over the georgiavirtue.com. Guess what, Matt?
What?
It's time for strippers.
Whoop.
Barely legal strippers now illegal in Texas.
Yeah, that's crap.
In May, the Lone Star State raised the minimum legal age for working in a sexually oriented business from 18 to 21.
Yeah, this is the most ridiculous part, is that they attached the revisions to the law to the state statute on employment that's harmful to children, which, and my understanding is that an 18, 19, and 20-year-old is not a child, but it makes it a violation to employ or induce adults younger than 21 to work nude, topless, or in any sexually oriented commercial activity. And is a second-degree felony with a mandatory minimum sentence of 2 years, a maximum of 20 years, and up to $10,000 in fines.
The United States government gave me an M60 at 18 years old.
You can still go, if you're 18, you can go sit in a strip club. You just can't work at one. How nuts is that?
And Matt, is this going to affect your plans to pay for college?
No, I'm 43.
Yeah, I was talking about your children.
Yeah, that was my first thought when I saw the article the morning that we recorded the show. I was like, what, are we going to put off college plans now?
So, all right, look, though, let's be honest. How many strippers have you ever met that were legitimately working their way through college?
I know one. She's a lawyer now.
I know.
You're a lawyer?
One.
Dave? Put Connie on the phone.
I knew one, but after she graduated, she kept working as a stripper because she was like, I make $300,000 a year doing this.
Holy shit.
And it's mostly cash.
Now just because we're rethinking in law school.
Yeah.
No,
so,
man.
I mean, of course, that was 20 years ago. She's probably moved on and working now because, she's got to be in her 40s. And
there's a place for them,
ew.
too. No, but
40s.
I mean, no, I know somebody who worked like at the end of college, and then she worked her way through law school, and then when she got her law degree and passed the bar, she stopped.
But you also understand that every girl in a strip club says, I'm working my way through school.
Right.
I actually don't know that because I don't spend a lot of time at a strip club. I've been to one in my life, and it was very uncomfortable.
Oh, I've spent a lot of time in strip clubs in my
Well, obviously. I mean, hello.
Well, I don't spend a whole lot of time at strip clubs either, but I understand that's the number one line is I'm working my way through school. But this goes back to a conversation that Jess, you and I have had about these crazy arbitrary rules about, this is the age of consent, this is age to smoke, this is the age to drink, and it's all absurd. I mean, if you're 18 years old and you can go join the damn army, why can't you hang your twins out on stage?
Right. I think that's probably where I'm at with it is if they're gonna move it to 21, then they need to move everything to 21. No, can't sign a contract, can't whatever.
Yeah, the age majority.
None of the things that you can do as an adult you do until you're 21 then.
Yeah, but they want to move voting age down to 16.
No, really?
Oh yeah, there's been big movements.
You can't
on
own
that.
property at 16, so how are they going to vote under Matt's law?
Well,
exactly.
Yeah, Matt's law is you have to have skin in the game.
Well, a stripper is trying to have skin in the game,
right? And a lot.
Jessica, you just took away the most misogynistic points that Matt and I could possibly make.
Right. That's the opener.
And owned it.
I'm just saying.
And I think that should be the name of the episode, is Skin in the Game.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You just proved yourself more misogynistic than the two over 40 guys.
We have talked about that I could never be a feminist. I'm terribly anti-woman because women are terrible. They do terrible things. They make terrible
on occasion to me.
Oh, please. I mean, they make terrible decisions. Their voting decisions are horrible. And like I've said a million times, this country went to hell in a handbasket when we gave women the right to vote.
I'm going to laugh at that, but I'm not going to say a damn word.
Because you still have to go home. You still have to go back up to the bedroom with Martha.
Right.
But, the whole idea, one, that it's sex work. It's not. It doesn't stop sex work.
They think it's a gateway drug.
Yeah, but how?
Because they think that you start in a strip club, then you end up being trafficked or in porn or prostitution. But again, I mean, aside from the trafficking, because that's horrible, but they're adults. If they want to be porn stars, and that's their prerogative. I mean, that's this emotional argument of ethics and morality and forcing that on somebody else as if that's going to do anything. What you've done here is, I mean, you're either forcing people onto the unemployment line or into jobs where they, aren't making nearly as much money and their lifestyle is changing, or you're forcing them onto the black market to do it.
Look, if that's what a young woman wants to do, that's fine. It just there's nothing illegal about it. There's nothing illegal about taking your clothes off. I'm going to paraphrase George Carlin here. He said, screwing, legal. Selling, legal. Selling, screwing, illegal. But that's not what these women are doing. You're either an adult or you're not. You're either at the age of majority or you're not. I didn't like it when Trump bumped the age to buy cigarettes and vapes and all that stuff to 21. I thought that was absurd. I think it's absurd that you can buy a rifle at 18 in Georgia, but not a pistol. You're either the age of majority or you're not.
So you can buy a pistol at 18. It's just got to be
private sale, right? But you can't go to your local FFL and buy one.
Right, yeah, because that's a federal law.
Right, but you're either the age of majority or you're not. So, as we'd love to to do stripper stories and everything else. The serious side of this is they're adults or they're not.
Yeah, but yes, that's the serious side of it. But the other serious side of it is that Texas is arguing, because this is in their court. It's being challenged in U.S. District Court right now. Texas says that the restrictions on employment reduce young people's exposure to perceived social ills, as if the state has any role in what people are exposed to and what they are not. They are adults, and they have had so much testimony and friends of the court and all kinds of things added onto the lawsuit. And one of the members of the Texas Entertainment Association, he owns 5 franchises, but he said he's laid off hundreds of people. And one of the people that he had to lay off, she was a dancer. Well, she was homeless and lived in her car, and she became an exotic dancer. And she was making $1,000 a night. Of course, she didn't work 7 days a week, but she worked several nights. And then when the law took effect, she was canned, and now she works for DoorDash, and she's homeless again.
Well,
because of the government, because somebody wants to force their morals on somebody else. That's immoral.
The government should not be dictating morality at all. Period. I'm not somebody who frequents, other than, look, I know that there's a character that I play on the show and all that stuff, but I'm not a guy that goes to strip clubs. I'm not a guy who hires hookers and stuff like that, but the government has no place dictating morality. And that's what they're doing here. They're trying to dictate morality. And I don't know what a 21-year-old stripper, how that's okay, but an 18-year-old stripper is not.
Right? They don't have a problem collecting taxes from these people.
Well, I don't know if the taxes will change, because you still have to have the same number of strippers working at a club.
No, but I'm saying like the government is so immoral, but they don't have a problem issuing business licenses. They don't have a problem, having the Department of Revenue collect annual fees and all kinds of stuff from them just because like they call them legitimate from a tax standpoint.
Don't give them any ideas. No, it's one of those things where I don't have to think that it's moral to take your clothes off for money for me to say it's none of my business. And and I know that's where the three of us are. It's none of our damn business. I don't frequent strip clubs. I have been to them, but I have no plans to go to one. But it's also none of my damn business. If you want to go, if Matt wants to go and spend 4 nights a week over at a strip club like he does,
not anymore.
That's his business. It's not mine. And it's certainly not the role of government to say that Matt shouldn't be going or can't go.
Well, they're not saying that. They're saying that when Matt was 18, he couldn't work there.
Matt?
What?
So if you were 18, you couldn't work in one. Could you work in one now?
I mean, no, I did.
Oh, here we go.
I did do a charity thing one year when I was 19.
God.
in
I
a
don't like
male
where this
strip
is
club
going.
here in Atlanta. They had this.
Was the charity for somebody else or for you?
No, it was for somebody. It was for somebody. It was like, and it was like St. Jude's or something. Like it was a legitimate thing.
So now you're making me into an a-hole.
For St. Jude's, you stripped down for St. Jude's. That's like a multiple for God and the kids. That's terrible.
We finally offended Jessica. We finally offended Jess.
We had to jump through so many hoops to do it. So here's what happened.
Literally or figuratively?
So I had a friend that was a male stripper, and I was working for a home builder. So like I'm 19, I wasn't fat at the time. I was a construction worker, right?
You know, Matt, you've just hit on so many things. I had a friend who was a male stripper. You mean your roommate? And
no, he was
partner?
not my roommate. Thank you. But no, he told us about it. There was some charity thing they were doing, and that you could come. It was kind of weird. It was like an open mic night, but at a strip club. But we still had to go down to Fulton County and go through the whole license.
Swinging Richards?
Actually, yes.
Oh my God! That's where you did a fundraiser for St. Jude's?
Yeah.
At Swinging Richards?
Yeah.
It's a gay club.
I know.
Oh my God!
And Jessica knows this off the top of her head.
Yeah,
Right?
You know why I know that? Because my hairdresser in Atlanta quit because she met a guy who worked there and they got married. And I was like, are you sure? Are you sure about this?
Jessica. Matt, go ahead.
Look, women don't frequent strip clubs and pass out money the way that men do, period. But there was a whole lot of rules about what we could and couldn't do and things like that. It was
Oh, well, how distinguished.
It was fun though. Like it really was like we had a good time, and they had women in there that night. And,
Oh gosh,
it was a very mixed crowd.
It wasn't just a bunch of men. Dude, like, what is the story?
Jessica, you were like 10 when this happened.
Yeah,
Jess is dying over
one
there.
Of the benefactors of St. Jude's, and I want to give my money back because I don't. This is terrible.
I made sure that it was a St. Jude sanctioned thing.
I think it was because when I Google St. Jude's and the male strippers, there's all kinds of stories on the internet about it.
Oh, okay then. Do you see my picture? I had long hair then.
So, Jessica, would you put a 20?
No.
Okay, would you throw some nickels?
She would have then. I mean, other than she was 10 and wouldn't be allowed in, but...
Well, if she was 18.
Oh my God.
Another name for the show. Matt was a stripper.
And hit a dude with a hammer.
Matt hit a guy with a hammer. Dude, if you could put those two stories together, I'd be impressed. Jess is regretting having us both on together.
No, she was worried about the time. Look, I told you we could go on for half an hour about the stripper stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know it was because you were going to tell a story.
Yeah, neither one of us knew that you stripped for St. Jude.
I'd do it again.
Well, for St. Jude, yeah. I was a stripper, but I would start naked and women would pay me to put my clothes back on.
me.
So, new research says police and schools don't reduce.
Are you sure we can even go to this topic like after
after the strippers?
Should we just wrap it up? I mean,
you just want to go to closing thoughts? Okay, Jess.
I don't know. I'm just concerned. I don't know how. I feel bad about talking about more children after this happened.
After we talked about children stripping,
come up with a good segue, Dave.
I'm trying to be the most professional host I can possibly be, and that's not good as it is. So, Jess, do you have any closing thoughts?
Are we really closing out?
Did you want to keep talking about strippers? Because Matt and I can go forever.
Well, I mean, I guess when we have three of us, we can start with our closing thoughts. But because I'm a little, we can leave the strippers at the door. But
your little weakened knees after hearing about Matt taking his clothes off.
No.
I'm offended.
Matt, we make her so uncomfortable.
No,
and it is so fun.
I am astonished that you strip down in the name of children.
Wouldn't you?
Kids with cancer.
No.
Do you not love kids? Why do you hate kids?
No. Because they don't pay their fair share. Dead weight.
I mean, Matt, what's our saying?
Which one?
I know you're not swinging a hog because I haven't seen it. So I hope the abs were what attracted the women and the guys to the stage to donate for St. Jude's, because I mean I know it's not anything else.
No, I mean everything, like it's all in a thong anyway.
Oh my god.
She is so uncomfortable.
I hope that Martha puts that in your obituary one day.
It was all in a thong.
No, man. I mean, really? She'll probably die first.
Jesus, Matt.
It's funny. We talk about that all the time because, I'm 43 years old. All of my grandparents are still alive. Mm-hmm. Well, no, I take that back. I had a grandmother pass away a couple years ago, but and I knew all of my great grandparents as an adult. So,
well, your grandpappy's like 95, isn't he?
He turns 98 next month.
Good
I'm
Lord.
not sure I want to live that long.
No, so
neither does he.
Right. I think he's conflicted about it. Like he kind of actively fears death. Mm-hmm. But he has buried 2 children. His wife of 65 years, and every friend he's ever had.
Awful.
Wow, yeah. Matt. So we went from strippers to dead babies.
Yeah, that's freaking terrible.
Right? No, I really think that like old people is like I think that's where the idea of like the sadness of vampires and that whole story came from.
What?
Like I think
you got to stop, man. You're bringing the show down. We were talking about 18-year-old strippers, and now you're talking about the sadness of burying babies. Jessica, please get your closing.
And vampires.
Vampires. Jessica, please get your closing thought for the love of God.
I don't know how you get out that way, but I mean, mine was just about Jim Beck. Like, that's really not. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I should just be at a reporter desk now, just saying, in other news, Georgia paid $800,000 to $70,000 for whistleblowers, and in California, gas at $8.50 a gallon. I don't. Thank you for listening. I don't.
Matt, would you like to leave people with something besides you in a thong?
No,
Or
that's the
vampires.
best thing to leave them with.
I guess I met you too late in life. I guess.
I mean, for all I know, you were there.
I mean, I was
Yeah, 'cause
fabulous in the 90s.
There were a few women, but it was mostly men.
Yeah, I don't know, because that was like 98. You were probably like in Bosnia or something.
Yeah, I was in the Army in 98.
Yep.
I was often living at Fort Bragg. I want to remind everybody that Matt and I have a show. We actually do something that's not about strippers. It's surf and turf. Matt covers hunting. I cover fishing. As soon as Matt gets his bio over to Jessica, it'll be featured on the Georgia Virtue, because Matt can't do basic things asked of him.
I forgot.
I've texted you like 5 times about it. But
I'll do it now.
But if you like what you heard here, and let me tell you why you're wrong, I'm really sorry.
Or want to see more, check out our videos.
Go to the Georgia Virtue, follow Jessica there. It's very good content on what is going on in local politics. Your average person can tell you what the president had for breakfast, but couldn't tell you what's going on locally. And that's something that the Georgia Virtue does very well, is show what's happening next door instead of all the way in Washington. And Jessica does a really good job with that. As much as we bust on her and all that stuff, Jessica is a hell of a reporter. Please follow him. Like and share us on social media. If you like your friends, share us. If you don't like your friends, share us.
Right. Inflict us upon them.
Yes, exactly. Especially this show, which has been a train wreck. So
man, this has been fun.
For Jessica Szilagyi, my partner in this endeavor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Matt Lowe, who sat in with us.
Your podcast partner in crime.
My podcast partner in crime. I'm Dave Roberts, and thank you, Eric Cumby, who is going to take this mess that we're going to send him and try to turn it to something that you can listen to. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you next week.
Later.